Good morning and welcome to Face the Nation. I'm John Dickerson. There was more violence and protest this weekend on the campaign trail. Outside Phoenix, Arizona, protesters blockaded the road leading to a Trump rally for several hours. 3 were arrested. Later, in Tucson, a man who was with a woman wearing a KKK hood was punched in the face by a Trump supporter. And about 1,000 anti-Trump protesters in New York City marched from Central Park to Trump Tower. All of this activity is picked up as Donald Trump seems headed towards his party's nomination. Trying to stop that in a more peaceful way is Governor John Kasich of Ohio. We spoke with him earlier. Governor, in order for you to get the nomination, you would have to win more than 100% of the remaining delegates. So how are you going to do it?
Well, first of all, nobody's going to have the delegates they need going to the convention. Everyone will fall short. And the convention, by the way, is an extension of the political process. So what will happen is people will go there with a certain number of delegates. We will go into Cleveland with momentum. And then the delegates are going to consider 2 things. Number 1, who can win in the fall? And I'm the only one that can. That's what the polls indicate. And number 2, John, a really crazy consideration, like who could actually be president of the United States. And I think when they take a look at my record, both in Washington and in Ohio, with the job growth, the wage growth, reforming the Pentagon, and that he can understand that I have the crossover appeal, I think I will be picked. So I don't think anybody's going to get there with the delegates that they need to win.
Why shouldn't the person who goes into the convention, if they don't have the majority of delegates, but if they're well ahead, why shouldn't they get the nomination?
You know what? It's like one of my daughters said, well, I had an 86 and my other friends had less than that, so I should get an A. So we got rules, sweetie. You got to make a 90 to get an A. In other words, we've got rules as to how many delegates you ought to get. And if you go in way ahead, you're likely to be picked. But what's interesting is in the 10 contested Republican conventions, you know that the leader going in only got picked 3 times? And again, John, I have to tell you that who's going to win in the fall? Who's going to beat Hillary? These other folks can't win. They can't win Ohio. I can tell you that. But in addition, look at the resume, look at the record. Who actually can fix this country? Who can get us moving again, both domestically and with foreign policy? So that should be a consideration now. It's not much of one, to be honest with you. But when we get to a convention, see, because I was there when Ronald Reagan actually challenged Gerald Ford. Can you imagine how many people were mad at Reagan? But his message mattered. He came close. He ultimately became one of the greatest presidents we've ever had. So, the convention is a very interesting thing, and delegates take things extremely seriously. But let me also tell you, John, if somebody can get the numbers, they would win. They're not going to get the numbers. So let's just everybody chill out.
Some people have suggested you should drop out so somebody can get the numbers because Ted Cruz is closer to that number than you are.
He needs 80% of the votes in order of the vote to get it. That's not going to happen, John. You know it, and I know it.
Has anyone asked you to drop out, though?
Nobody is calling me directly and asking me to drop out. And by the way, why don't they drop out? Wait a minute, John. Why don't they drop out? I'm the one that can win in the fall. You know, another interesting thing. This party has run around for 7 years saying, how is it that we elected a 1-term United States senator to be president who's never had the experience? Whatever happened to that? Remember that? So here's what I would say. I can win in the fall. They cannot.